how it's made. We're making some black, blue glitter, blue flash tails, Cinco style baits called the dipstick. First thing is first, you got to make your tails. Once you have all your tails made, you got to fill your mold with your tails. Carefully place your lid on it, or the other half, not to move. And then your plastic, make them black. It looks kind of gray right now, but if you didn't know, bait makers have to heat the plastic. It's got to hit a certain temperature before it turns over. That temperature is around 350, give or take 10 degrees, depending on the manufacturer you use. It can be a little cooler, it can be a little hotter, depending on the manufacturer. We will do 2 heats on this. About 12 minutes. Depends on your microwave. Depends on the rating. 900 watts. I think this is 800 watts. I'm gonna have to heat that for another minute more. Let's go ahead and stop that. It's about 12 minutes here. And I'm doing 8 cups of plastic, or Plastisol. 8 cups. These here are pots. It's called the Shooting Star. We're gonna get these going. They're not turned on right yet. There we go. Let's get some heat. Anytime I'm shooting tails on my molds, I shoot at a higher temperature because it helps them mold better. So we're shooting at 350. That's the temperature that we're going to shoot at today. As you can tell, they're only about 80 degrees right now, Fahrenheit. Hopefully. Between that, filling my molds. Everything's going at once. One last thing that I got to add to that plastic that you see is I need to add blue glitter, blue flake. So just look around the shop. Here is my blue flake. I'm going to be using 3 different sizes, 1.5, 3.5, and 6.2. So 3 flake. There's all of our colorants in the back. Here's all my recipe cards, the top secret stuff. And there's the rest of the shop. I'm going to go ahead and finish filling all these. I have approximately 12 of these molds with 10 shots per each one. So it's quite tedious, especially when you do different colored tails. But if you are questioning buying razor baits with different colored tails, these actually have, if you look real close, a nipple on the end of that tail that helps it mold with the rest of the plastic. So you got to shoot your tails first. Between putting your tails in and making one run and getting ready for the next, it's about 30 minutes. Got to get all your stuff set up prior. Got to get your tail shot first, which that I shoot those. Try to shoot tails in about 1,000 at a time. Keep them on hand because you never know when you're going to need them. Speaking of tails, let's just go over here and look. I have all those different colored tails. My #1 seller is the black blue glitter with the flash in it. See that silver flash in it? That's my #1. There's all me molds. Microwaves. Yes. Sometimes I have them both running at the same time, especially once I get to rolling. For the video though, just figured we would just show you kind of what it looks like. This is going to be a pretty short video, probably 10 minutes or so. Whoops. And I need to be doing these all in the same mold. If you don't do it, you're going to try to flip it over and you have some in one and some in the other. That's not good. For the record, doing this one-handed, I want you all to know, it sucks. When anybody says they're doing hand injections, this is what they're doing. Hand injected molds. Doing this video on a GoPro today, something different. for my shop videos. Any of them that I've done before, I've done with my cell phone, but I figured I had it, why not try it? Pretty much, you got to make sure these tails get put in there nice and flush to the end. If you don't, you'll get them, they'll crush when they get put in the vise. There we go. One more down. Again, they got pins in the corners, so I try to get at least one pin in and then use my finger to feel the flushness to the next corner. You know, there's a bunch of YouTubers out there that do make baits. This is how I do them. Everybody's different. I use a specific plastic. I use Calhoun's plastic, if anybody's interested. I personally like it. I've tried a couple other ones. I've tried Dead On. I've tried bait plastics. I really like the Calhoun's though. I like the durability of it. And so do my customers. And that's not sponsored by them. I pay for everything that I do. Or at the time of this video, I wish I could get sponsored by a plastic distributor. That'd be great. Talk about another thing is whenever you're putting them together, you want to make sure that they all have the holes in the same direction. So not only do you shoot your tails, you have to then cut them from the sprue, which if you don't know what the sprue is the centerpiece. And then you got to place them for every run. So anybody that tells you shooting tails with tail molds is fun, actually shooting the tails isn't bad. It's shooting the main bait with those is not that fun, because it takes time. Yeah, we'll just say it's fun. I love shooting baits, especially when it's for myself, when I'm coming up with a new color for myself to kind of match the hatch, if you will. Probably got about 600 tails on that container right now, which isn't near enough for what I need. And when stuff like that happens, you really want to check and see. Make sure they didn't slide, because if they slid, they're going to be not in the right spot. You have shorter worms. We don't want that. It's a 5.25 dipstick. 5.25 dipstick. I don't know if y'all heard, my microwave just ended. So we're going to move some stuff out the way, and I'm going to tell you one major thing you want to do. Messing with plastic is wear your gloves. Right now it's not that hot because we didn't heat it all the way through, but 350 degrees Fahrenheit will bubble your skin. And all we take is a butter knife, and you can kind of see it's gelling up. Before it was almost a liquid, or I mean it is a liquid. It was pretty runny. Now we're gonna mix it up to try to even the heat a little bit. Then we're gonna put it back in for 6 minutes. And if you notice, I don't have glitter in my first run, or not my first run, the first heat. I put the glitter in last, right before they go into the pots. There it is, look at that. Now it's halfway there, halfway to the actual what we're looking for. Put it back in for that 6 minutes. And then, while we're waiting, we're going to get our glitter ready. And I go ahead and pre-make the mixture, because I'm using 3 different sizes. Three different sizes, but all blue. That's for 8 cups of plastic. That's my amount. And we'll just sit it over here and stand by for that to come out. And we actually have one more mold to fill while we're waiting. Yeah, you don't want them to be overhanging that edge, and you don't want them to be too far away, or else you will definitely have a mistake. And that's what we don't want. There we go. Next step. Let's see here. Next step I do is put them in my vise without allowing them to separate. Now, you don't have to have a vise. You can start with a couple different things. You use pipe clamps. You can use these guys, or you can even use these guys that clamps down. My son made a 3D printed mold, so I'm going to shoot that for him today and see how that turns out. He's got one of those 3D printers. Something else that I have, we'll get rid of the tails because we don't need them anymore. Something else that I learned from the guy I bought the company from. Not learned, but he had already in place, which is awesome. They're called sprue extenders. Copper sprue extenders. This allows, when your plastic cools, it may suck in some extra plastic, so put these on here, and this is how you get away from squeezing extra plastic into each individual mold as it's being sucked in. You just shoot this all the way down and you have that little extra, and it'll yeah, it'll automatically have enough that you don't have to go back and refill them. And then this is so we have our injector here. It's got a rubber gasket there. If you put it on here, it's going to destroy it. So we have a small aluminum that actually fits around there and doesn't allow this to cut the rubber gasket. So you have to use both. If you ever try to do this and you're using a shooting star, you're going to have some problems if you don't do that. And again, this is just a aluminum sprue extender as well, except it's not near as long as those. These are like 3 inches, 4 inches. So alright, here we go. This is where the magic is going to happen with the plastic. This is where it should now be almost back to you know, a pliable liquid, if you will, or pourable, easily pourable liquid, and not just a gel. And you have your thermometer guns here. You can see that 347, that's good enough for me. It is turned over. Now we're going to add our glitter and make it shine. And again, always wear your gloves because this stuff can splash the knives. This stuff just, once it cools, it'll just come right off of there. So now we're going to get our plastic in our pots, which is really literally just dump it in. Our pots are at the right temperature too. Remember I said that I shoot around 350. If you still got a few things to do, don't set it at 350 yet. Just get your pots to whatever temperature you want to preset them at, 330 to maintain the temperature. But again, it's really up to you. Here we go. And if you look, we have this, which is our paddle. It spins, and that's what's going to keep that glitter suspended, keep the heat from not keep that heat from burning it. Now we're gonna get ready for our actual first shot. And I'm going to get my second set of plastic already ready to go. When I talked about gloves, well, I use those like mechanic gloves for just kind of mixing and stirring and this, that, and the other. For actually shooting the plastic, I use good heat rated gloves, because this stuff 350 degrees, if you don't know, is seriously hot. In your injector, when you're using a ultra molds, this is a heating plate. It keeps it hot from the two elements that are underneath, so you want to make sure your rubber gasket is good. A rubber gasket's what I'm going to draw a couple to make sure that our injector's hot. Try not to get any air. Make sure that you don't have any cracks in your gasket. If you do, it's going to suck in air and you can have bubbles in your baits. Won't happen up here. Here's the first one. And if you can see, I'm not sure if the camera does it any justice, but I move the little aluminum extender over every single run, so I'm not putting that plastic, I'm sorry, that rubber gasket. I'll put that rubber gasket on there, it's going to break it. And if you've never seen shooting star, there's two chambers in this injector. Two chambers are so you can draw plastic from both pots and shoot two different colors, a laminated color. don't want to push too hard on the back end of your injection, because you'll get something called flashing, where it comes out the vent holes. I push back all my plastic every time so that it doesn't get cool inside your tubes and essentially gel up inside your injector, because then you got to take it all apart, and that's bad. And that's one run. Now the big question is, how long do you wait for it to cool? Approximately 3 minutes. So we got one of these handy dandy little timers here. You can turn it on. Well, that handy dandy timer, the battery looks dead. But roughly 3 minutes. Sometimes in between shots, I might turn my temp down to try to keep the plastic stabilized. What I meant by it peels off, here is the spatula that I use to help scrape it out of the bowl. It literally, once it cools, it just peels off. Should also wear a respirator. For the sake of the video, I'm not doing it today, but yes, respirator for safety. You do get fumes with it. I do have ducting. Don't know if y'all can see my ducting. My ducting is up there. It's connected to a fan above this work area. probably been just about 30 minutes, but I got some more plastic already heating. Alright. Then for the reveal, I'll do this one on the table here. There they are. Pull them out of the sprue extender. And what I typically do, cut the sprue extender off because we don't need it. And then I take my baits, the fresh new baits, and I will, so they can finish setting, I'll cut them, and then I got 2 sets of 5. And then what I also do is I check them in front of the light to see if I could see any types of holes or bubbles. So there is one that I do see that there's a bubble in, and it's right there. You can see that. So if it's got a bubble in it like that, I will take that worm off. That one's not usable, it's not going to be sold. I might add it to my stack, or shred the plastic. Yep, so that one had a little hole in it, a little bubble. One other thing that I'll do is you can roll that off while it's still kind of fresh, and you can get your tail back and you can reuse your tail, because obviously there's nothing wrong with it. You still got your nipple, and that right there will go in the regrind pile. And then here's where the worms will get hung on my rack. To cure overnight before they're shipped out. And really that is one run, one shot. And I'll redo that for all of these, and then we'll add the tails back into our molds. If you got any questions, leave comments, let me know. I'll try to answer them.